Thank you, Jimmy. Good afternoon. My name is Sheriff David Livingston, Contra Costa County. I wanted to provide to you all an update on the press release we issued yesterday in which we identified 5 individuals that we had arrested in the horrific murder case from 114 Lucille Lane. And yesterday at about 7 a.m., the Office of the Sheriff served search warrants at 5 locations, the cities of Antioch, Vallejo, Marin City, and San Mateo, and here locally. And detectives were assisted by the following agencies. It has been an enormous investigation. The U.S. Marshal Service, Don O'Keefe is here with us today, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Antioch Police Department, Vallejo Police Department, Marin County Sheriff's Office, and the San Mateo Police Department. We understand at this very moment there are memorial services for Oceana Tompkins occurring in Richmond, and that there has been a disturbance at that event as well. In fact, deputy sheriffs are assisting Richmond Police Department with that event right now. The goal today is to just give you a little bit more information about the case and what we know about the subjects. 5 subjects were arrested on Ramey warrants, and the locations for those areas were searched for evidence, of course, related to the original shooting on October 31st. The criminals arrested were LeBron Tyree Wallace, who has been booked on murder and conspiracy charges. He has prior convictions for DUI, driving on suspended license, receiving stolen property, and illegal possession of an assault weapon. The next person is Jaquez Deshawn Sweeney. He was booked on murder and conspiracy charges as well, and he has had prior arrests for altercations, displaying a firearm, possession of a firearm. He was a subject that was seen entering the residence in Orinda with a firearm, and when he was arrested, he was found to have been carrying a loaded 9mm pistol. We also arrested Jason Isles. He's been booked on murder and on conspiracy. Also, Devin Isaiah Williamson, who was the promoter of this event. He was also arrested and has been booked. His charges include conspiracy, carrying a concealed weapon, and vandalism. Also arrested was Shamron Joshua Mitchell of Antioch. He has been booked on murder and conspiracy charges. He has prior convictions for assault with a deadly weapon and with gang enhancements and other criminal threats. I'd like to thank the Antioch Police Department who went to his home this morning to attempt to make that arrest. We actually have video to show with you of how that arrest went down. Please show that video. It'll be on the screen to your right. Yesterday morning. This.
You guys.
Everybody ready? Yeah. Okay.
Here you'll see the SWAT team in front of the residence, and we'll watch the upper right window, second story of the residence. He clearly becomes aware of law enforcement activity in front of his home. He pushes off the screen. Jumps 2 stories to his backyard and begins to flee. Unbeknownst to him, there were many police officers in the backyard, and he was taken into custody shortly after this moment. He is now in custody.
That's the video. If you guys wanted to swing back to the podium.
Sorry, Sheriff, which suspect is this? Mitchell?
Shamron Joshua Mitchell of Antioch. He has prior convictions for assault with a deadly weapon, with gang enhancements and criminal threats, and he's been booked on murder and conspiracy charges. The shooting at the Orinda Halloween party resulted in the death of 5 individuals. Evidence discovered during the investigation revealed 2 of the deceased persons inside the residence were also armed. The armed deceased persons were Raymond Quan Hill, and he is a known associate of the Page Street gang in San Francisco. And he has numerous arrests and had convictions for assault with a firearm, and he was on parole at the time of his death. Also inside the home deceased was Javelin Germain County, another individual with an extensive criminal history, and he was associated with the Marin City Jungle Gang. He has prior convictions, or had prior convictions, I should say, for grand theft, robbery, parole violation, obstructing an officer, possession of controlled substance, receiving stolen property, and assault with a deadly weapon. In addition to the 5 persons who died as a result of the shooting, there were 5 additional victims that we shouldn't forget, who suffered gunshot wounds. There were 3 of those, and additional victims who suffered serious injuries fleeing the residence, including jumping over 30 feet over a balcony to escape. It's important to note that this investigation is still in its early stages. We wanted to make the arrests as soon as we were able to do so with corroborating factual evidence, to get them into custody, to continue the investigation, but to assure the community that they are safe. We believe we have done that. Detectives are continuing to interview witnesses and follow up on leads. There is a tremendous amount of technical information that we are seeking with the assistance of our federal partners, including cell phone data, and there is also a staggering amount of crime lab work going on right now, including DNA work and firearms comparisons. The Forensic Services Division is processing evidence collected at the crime scene, as well as evidence collected at the various search warrants. And detectives have been working with the District Attorney's Office to make sure charges are ready for filing. That's where we are today. I would just caution you that the investigation continues. We do have people in custody, but we know there are others that we are seeking now, and we want to put together the absolute best case we can for charging. Now, I also know that there will be questions about the town of Orinda, the city of Orinda. We provide contracting policing services to that community.
That may have played a role in the tragedy. Do you have any idea what the motive was? Was this a gang thing, or what was behind this?
We're still identifying specific motive, but I can tell you that there were rival gangs involved in the altercation inside the home. We are told by certain witnesses there was also an attempt to steal property from one person to another, which may have precipitated the initial round of shooting. So we haven't nailed down the exact motive yet, but I believe in due course we will.
Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
Is one to then take from this that these 5, plus the 2 victims who also had guns, were from rival gangs? And if so, which gangs were they all, those 7 people from?
So we're not officially announcing the gangs. I did identify 2, Page Street from San Francisco and the Marin City gang. There may have been others as well. Keep in mind, I went into this scene personally. In my 32 years of law enforcement, I have never seen a homicide scene like this ever. It was a bloodbath inside the home. And in addition to that, with persons that were deceased inside the home, there were numbers and numbers of casings all over the floor, countertops. So it takes a lot of analysis to be very thorough, very deliberate, very careful. So once we can establish beyond any doubt who shot, when, and for what purpose, we'll certainly get that information out. But we understand there's been a demand and a need in the community, particularly in Orinda, to know more about what happened. That's why we're having the press conference today, to answer some of the questions, although we can't answer all of them.
Do you think the two victims actually did shoot though?
We're not sure, but they were both armed.
There've been reports that one of the victims came with some of the suspects. Can you confirm that?
I cannot.
Can you talk about the disturbance at the funeral today? What happened?
I'm sorry, I was just made aware of that on my way down here to meet with you, so I don't have any facts yet, and that would be Richmond's jurisdiction. I'm sure they'll put out something relatively quickly. Did you have a question, ma'am? Okay,
Do
sir.
you know at least how many shooters do you think fired a shot at this party? Do you have an idea of at least how many?
Melissa, are we prepared to say at least?
There's multiple, that's what we know at this point.
Yeah, to be safe and to be accurate, we can safely say there were multiple shooters at this event, but we don't want to give you a number just yet.
Are you able to say just how many guns have been collected from the scene?
Well, in the scene, in the search warrants, we're up to 4 firearms, and we expect to find more.
So Chief, there
Yeah,
were.
you had a question in the back, sir? Anybody?
Yes, actually I do. We have reached out to you guys about surveillance footage taken from a neighbor's house. showing
Yes.
2 men with guns. Are they the same people that have been arrested?
I don't know specifically about the video you're referring to, but I can tell you we have video sources from many different people, both neighbors that live there, cell phone footage, and other footage that we've been able to obtain. So we're working through all of that very deliberately to try and determine who was carrying the weapons and what. I can tell you this, at the front of the home where there was so-called security, in actuality, people were clearly seen secreting firearms in their pants. So there were many firearms inside that party that evening, and we're trying to track down and get a specific number on it.
Sheriff,
So, yes, sir.
That there were outstanding suspects. Can you talk about how many outstanding suspects, and do you believe that this, do you have any sense that this shooting was premeditated, people went there to do this, or it just grew out of some event that happened?
We believe that some involved in this event went to the party with the intention of causing harm and conflict. As far as additional people that are outstanding, I don't want to talk about that just yet, but I do believe we will have additional people in custody at some point soon.
The 4 people that are facing the murder charges, do you believe all of them fired weapons?
Yes, either fired weapons or assisted in the firing of weapons.
And then the one who is the accomplice, he was the promoter of the party. Can you, again, why are you, can you explain?
So we're not recommending charges of homicide on the promoter. It's a conspiracy charge at this point and an accessory charge. And I'll let the district attorney handle how that's being charged. So, a few more questions? A few more? Yeah.
There's been some talk about personnel, the amount of officers that were on duty on a Halloween night.
Right.
Pretty much an amateur night, a lot of kids walking around, but there's been talk about those officers that were there were pulled to a different resource.
Right.
We were back in that neighborhood last night, and the quote to one resident is that, for you guys, too little, too late. How do you respond to those upset residents that live that close?
Sure. So a loud party is a low priority call. I think most people acknowledge that. We want to respond as time allows. But let me just say this at the outset. What we have here is a number of people who are blaming Airbnb or blaming our response times, or that we shouldn't have been assisting another agency, or blaming the owner of the house. The blame rests specifically on the individuals that carried guns into that party, pulled the trigger, and murdered someone. That's who should have the blame in this case, not the police, not anybody else. Now, having said that, if there's opportunities to improve service delivery, as the council's looking at Airbnb, fine, that's great. But for this event, it came down to gang members, essentially, shooting and killing people, including innocent people. So I have to say that at the outset. But as far as the transfer of resources in that community, it happens all the time. Ironically, as soon as this event came out, Lafayette sent their officers over to assist us immediately. So that kind of cross-pollination, if you will, happens all the time. It's very unfortunate we are in this circumstance where we went out on a violent home invasion from Lafayette to assist them, thinking the suspect vehicle was in Oakland, finding it, doing a survey, and then finally getting back into our community. So I don't have concerns about that. It's very unlikely to happen. We have resources we can move over. But yes, we were originally looking at a call for service about a loud party.
Quick little follow-up to that.
Sure.
As we move into the 21st century, is there one certain tool that you could see that you could have used to expedite the arrest? Like license plate readers, Sausalito puts up cameras and things of that sort, you want to respond that something, it's a very complicated case, would there have been something, since there's a limited amount of officers?
Sure.
Something that you could have used in the toolbox?
I'm sure you'll understand that I can't disclose, nor should I disclose, the contents of our investigation, at least not yet. But I can tell you we use those technologies and many, many more, including technologies available to us from our federal partners. So we are using technology to get to where we are, and that I think will eventually get us all the way to everyone in custody for this crime.
One
Sure.
question about the
Just-
origin of the shooting. It's been reported possibly started in the kitchen. Can you talk more about that?
We believe it did occur initially in the kitchen, yes.
Matthias, and you touched briefly on security at the party. Is that something that the promoter brought in for someone to pat people down? Can you tell me a little bit about what that entailed?
Well, all I can tell you is that there was a person self-described as security. We have video of that person drinking Hennessy throughout the evening at the front door. So I don't know if it was really security or not, but ostensibly was there to pat people down. And part of our evidence shows that many, many people were secreting weapons down their waistband and going right into the party. So that's all I can say about that.
And did that promoter, initially they said that to the homeowner, they said it was going to be like a family reunion or something like that. Do you find out more about what they told the homeowner about what this party was going to be?
I'm not aware of what that evidence is, but we'll certainly find out, yeah.
Do you think,
Last question.
Last question, Jody.
do you think the promoter had any idea there was gonna be violence there? I mean, did he set this up? I mean, he is facing some very serious charges now in this.
As he should be, yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
No, I won't, but I believe that he's culpable in this, and I think he knows he's culpable, and we'll let the DA take it from here.
And you
So
certain suspects came to the party with the intent to commit violence. Is that-
that's our belief as we sit here today. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Sheriff.